Did you know that the majority of seniors who lose their independence to mobility problems never saw it coming, not because the signs were not there, but because nobody taught them what to look for? You might think that mobility decline is something you would notice immediately. A sudden fall, a dramatic injury, a clear and obvious moment where everything changes. But here is the truth that physical therapists, geriatric specialists, and senior care professionals see repeatedly in clinic after clinic, family after family. Mobility loss almost never announces itself dramatically. It arrives quietly, gradually, in changes so small and so gradual that they get absorbed into the routine of daily life, until the morning something happens that cannot be absorbed anymore. A stumble on the front porch steps that used to feel effortless. A walk to the mailbox that now requires a pause halfway. A grip on the stair rail that used to be casual and has become, without anyone fully acknowledging it, absolutely necessary. These are not random misfortunes. They are signals. And the seniors who learn to read them early are the ones who keep their independence, their confidence, and their quality of life for decades longer than those who do not. But here is the good news. Every single mobility issue we are covering today is preventable, manageable, and in many cases fully reversible when it is caught early enough. And after this video, you will know exactly what to look for and exactly what to do. Meet Constance, a bright and fiercely self-sufficient 72-year-old retired librarian from Savannah, Georgia. Constance prided herself on her independence. She drove herself everywhere, tended her garden every Saturday morning, and climbed her staircase a dozen times a day without a second thought. Her family described her as the most capable woman they knew. But somewhere between 69 and 72, things shifted in ways Constance quietly filed away rather than examined. She started choosing the ground floor bathroom instead of climbing the stairs. She reorganized her kitchen so that everything she needed daily sat at counter height, without consciously acknowledging why. She stopped volunteering for the Saturday farmers market because the uneven ground had started making her nervous in a way she could not quite explain. Constance was not declining dramatically. She was accommodating, gradually and invisibly, a set of mobility changes that had been building for years. And, because each individual accommodation felt reasonable, even sensible, nobody noticed the larger pattern, including Constance herself. It was not until her daughter visited for Thanksgiving and watched her mother grip the kitchen counter while reaching for a serving dish that the conversation finally happened. Constance's story is one that unfolds in millions of homes every single year, quietly, invisibly, and almost always earlier than it needed to. Today, we are covering 4 mobility issues that sneak up on older adults and exactly how to stop each one in its tracks. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's dive in. Now, before we get into the 4 mobility issues, there is something important that needs to be said first. This video is not about limitations. It is not a preview of inevitable decline or a catalog of everything that is about to go wrong with your body. If you came here expecting to feel frightened or discouraged, that is not what this is. What this is the conversation that should have been happening in every doctor's waiting room, every senior center, and every family kitchen for the past 2 decades, and largely has not been. Because here is what the research consistently and clearly shows. Mobility decline in older adults is one of the most preventable and most undertreated conditions in all of senior healthcare. The American Physical Therapy Association estimates that the majority of fall-related injuries in seniors, injuries that represent the leading cause of both fatal and non-fatal injuries in adults over 65, are preventable with early identification and targeted intervention. Not aggressive intervention. Not complicated medical procedures. Simple, specific, early action. The reason those interventions happen too rarely and too late is not a lack of medical knowledge. It is a lack of information reaching the people who need it most, seniors themselves, before the crisis moment arrives. Constance's physical therapist told her something during their first session that reframed the entire conversation for her. She said, "Constance, your body has been sending you messages for 3 years. We are just now learning to read them together." That sentence, patient, non-judgmental, and completely accurate, is the spirit of everything that follows in this video. Your body is not failing you. It is communicating with you. and this channel exists to help you understand what it is saying. The 4 mobility issues covered today are drawn from consistent patterns documented across decades of geriatric physical therapy research, fall prevention studies, and senior wellness programs operating across the country. Every issue on this list is recognized, measurable, and this is the part that matters most, responsive to intervention at every stage. Whether you are watching this at 62 as pure prevention or at 78 because something Constance's story just said felt uncomfortably familiar, there is something specific and actionable here for exactly where you are right now. You do not need to have fallen to deserve attention to your mobility. You do not need a diagnosis to benefit from the prevention strategies in this video. And you do not need to accept gradual physical limitation as an unavoidable feature of getting older, because the evidence simply does not support that acceptance. Constance began working with a physical therapist 4 months after that Thanksgiving visit. 8 months later, she was back in her garden every Saturday morning. She climbed her staircase without holding the rail for the first time in 3 years last spring. She told her daughter afterward, "I just needed someone to tell me it was not too late." It is not too late. Let's get into it. Now, let's get into it. For mobility issues that sneak up on older adults and exactly what to do about every single one. Constance's physical therapist told her something at the start of their very first session that she has since written on a note card and taped to her bathroom mirror. The body does not fail all at once. It sends small signals. Our job is to answer them before they become emergencies. That is exactly the spirit of what follows. For signals. For clear answers. Starting today. Mobility issue number 1. Gradual loss of balance and stability. This is the most common and the most quietly dangerous mobility issue on this list because it almost never feels like a problem until it suddenly, dramatically is. Balance decline in older adults does not announce itself as dizziness or instability. It announces itself as caution, as a slight hesitation at the top of a staircase, as a preference for holding walls and countertops in ways that feel practical rather than necessary, as a route through the house that has been unconsciously optimized to stay close to something solid. Constance reorganized her entire kitchen before she ever consciously acknowledged that her balance had changed. That is how subtle and how gradual the process is. The underlying cause is a combination of factors that accumulate with age: reduced strength in the stabilizing muscles of the ankles, hips, and core, decreased sensitivity in the sensory receptors in the feet, and slower neurological processing of balance corrections. None of these changes is dramatic individually. Together, they create a compounding vulnerability that grows quietly for years before it produces a fall. What can you do about it? Start with the single most clinically validated balance exercise available to seniors: the single leg stand. Stand behind a sturdy chair, hold the back lightly for safety, and lift 1 foot 2 to 3 inches off the floor. Hold for 10 seconds. Switch sides. Repeat 3 times per side, twice daily. Research consistently shows that regular practice of this single exercise measurably reduces fall risk within 6 to 8 weeks. Then schedule a balance assessment with your primary care physician or a licensed physical therapist. A professional baseline measurement is the most reliable way to track your progress and catch any acceleration in decline early. Have you noticed yourself holding onto things more than you used to? Share your experience in the comments below. Let's keep this conversation going. Mobility issue number 2, declining leg strength. Muscle mass in the lower body decreases at a rate of approximately 3 to 5% per decade after the age of 30, and that rate accelerates meaningfully after 60. The quadriceps, the gluteal muscles, and the calf muscles that power every step, every staircase, every rise from a chair are quietly diminishing year by year in ways that daily life masks almost completely until a critical threshold is crossed. Constance noticed it first in her garden, kneeling down to plant bulbs and finding, with a surprise that embarrassed her, that getting back up required considerably more effort than it ever had before. She attributed it to a bad day, then another bad day, then a pattern she stopped examining. Declining leg strength is not an inevitable sentence. It is a training deficit, and training deficits respond to training. What can you do about it? Introduce chair squats into your daily routine immediately. Sit in a firm chair, cross your arms over your chest, and stand up slowly to a full upright position before lowering yourself back down in a controlled, deliberate movement. 10 repetitions, twice daily. This single exercise targets every major lower body muscle group simultaneously and requires no equipment beyond a chair you already own. Add a daily 10 to 20-minute walk on varied terrain, gentle hills, uneven paths, grass, to engage the stabilizing muscles that flat surfaces never challenge. Within 8 weeks of consistent practice, measurable strength improvements are documented even in adults in their 80s. Have you found certain physical tasks taking more effort than they used to? Drop a comment and tell us which ones. You are not alone in this, and your experience might be exactly what someone else needed to read today. Mobility issue number 3, reduced flexibility and joint stiffness. The morning stiffness that many seniors dismiss as simply how aging feels is not an insignificant inconvenience. Reduced flexibility in the hips, knees, ankles, and spine directly limits the range of motion available during walking, turning, and navigating uneven surfaces, creating compensatory movement patterns that increase fall risk and accelerate joint deterioration simultaneously. Constance's hesitation on the uneven ground of the farmer's market was not a balance problem at its root. It was a flexibility problem. Her reduced ankle mobility was limiting her ability to make the rapid micro-adjustments that stable walking on variable surfaces requires. What can you do about it? Dedicate 10 minutes every morning, before you leave your bed if possible, to a gentle full-body stretching sequence targeting the hips, hamstrings, calves, and lower back. Hold each stretch for 30 seconds without bouncing. Consistency matters infinitely more than intensity here. Additionally, explore a chair yoga class at your local senior center or through a free online resource. The combination of guided flexibility work and breath awareness produces measurably superior results to unsupported solo stretching for most seniors. Mobility issue number 4, fear of falling, the invisible mobility issue. This final issue is the least discussed and the most insidious, because it is not physical in origin, yet it produces profoundly physical consequences. Seniors who have experienced a fall, or who have developed an anticipatory fear of falling, unconsciously restrict their movement, shorten their stride, slow their pace, and avoid activities that would otherwise maintain their physical conditioning. The fear of falling, left unaddressed, accelerates the very physical decline that makes falling more likely. It is a cycle that tightens quietly and continuously until independence is significantly compromised, not by a fall, but by the fear of one. What can you do about it? Name the fear out loud to your doctor and request a referral to a fall prevention program. Structured, evidence-based programs exist in most communities and have demonstrated dramatic reductions in both fear and actual fall incidents among participants. Additionally, enroll in a Tai Chi class designed for seniors. Tai Chi has the strongest evidence base of any single intervention for simultaneously reducing fall fear and improving the physical balance capacity that fear was originally responding to. Constance attended her first Tai Chi class 7 months ago. She has not missed a session since. For mobility issues. For clear answers. All of them available to you starting this week. Now I want to stop and speak directly to the resistance that may have been quietly building while you listened to everything we just covered. Because it is there. And it deserves a direct, honest, respectful response. Slowing down is just a natural part of aging. There is nothing you can do to stop it. This is the single most costly belief a senior can carry, not because it is entirely wrong, but because it is dangerously incomplete. Yes, the body changes with age. Yes, certain physiological processes slow regardless of intervention. Nobody in this video is promising you the body you had at 40. But there is an enormous and clinically documented difference between the natural arc of aging and the accelerated decline that results from inactivity, unaddressed muscle loss, and untreated mobility issues. The research is unambiguous on this point. Seniors who engage in targeted strength and balance training consistently outperform their sedentary peers on every measurable mobility metric by margins that are not marginal. They are significant. They are life-changing. And they are available at every age. Constance's physical therapist works regularly with adults in their late 80s who are measurably stronger and more mobile than they were 2 years prior. Not because aging stopped. Because they refuse to accept decline as a destination. I have gotten this far without doing anything special. I must be doing something right. Perhaps. And if your mobility is genuinely strong, your balance genuinely stable, and your physical confidence genuinely intact, wonderful. Keep doing exactly what you are doing and add the prevention strategies from this video on top of it. But for the many seniors whose honest answer to that statement carries a quiet asterisk, the ones who have been making small accommodations, quietly reorganizing their environments, and privately avoiding certain activities without fully examining why, this belief is not reassurance. It is a delay. And delays in mobility intervention are extraordinarily expensive in the long run, measured not in money, but in independence, dignity, and quality of life. Constance told herself she was doing fine for 3 years. She was also quietly stopping doing everything that made her feel most like herself. Exercise and prevention programs are for people who are already having problems. I will address it if something actually goes wrong. This is precisely the logic that fills hospital rehabilitation units with seniors who could have avoided being there entirely. Mobility intervention after a significant fall is recovery. Mobility intervention before a fall is freedom. The distance between those two destinations is measured almost entirely in whether prevention happened early enough. Waiting for something to go wrong before addressing mobility is the equivalent of waiting for a fire before installing a smoke detector. The detector does not cause the fire. It simply ensures that when conditions deteriorate, you are warned early enough to do something about it. Constance did not begin her prevention work because something went wrong. She began because her daughter noticed something and loved her enough to say so. You are watching this video. Someone somewhere is saying something. Listen. Now, before we close, I want to give you something that was not in the original 4. Something Constance's physical therapist introduced during their 3rd session together, a technique so unglamorous, so deceptively simple, that Constance laughed out loud when it was first described to her. And so consistently effective that she has credited it, more than any other single practice, with returning her to her Saturday garden and her staircase without the rail. It is called the Mobility Minute. Most seniors approach physical wellness the way most people approach major home renovations, as a large, scheduled, dedicated undertaking that requires significant time, energy, preparation, and motivation before it can begin. And because that undertaking feels large, it gets postponed. Consistently, reasonably, and at enormous cost to the body that needed daily attention in small amounts rather than occasional attention in large ones. The Mobility Minute dismantles that barrier entirely. It requires no equipment, no special clothing, no dedicated space, and no block of time larger than 60 seconds. It asks only one thing, that you do it every single time you transition between activities throughout your day. Here is exactly how it works. Step 1. Identify your daily transition moments, the natural pauses that already exist in your routine. The moment you stand up from breakfast before moving to the kitchen. The pause before you walk from the living room to the bedroom. The seconds between hanging up the phone and beginning your next task. These transitions already exist. You are simply going to inhabit them differently. Step 2. At every transition, perform one of 4 rotating movements before you take your first step. The 4 movements are 10 heel raises, rising slowly onto the balls of your feet and lowering with control, targeting calf strength and ankle stability. 10 sit-to-stands from your current chair, no hands if safely possible, targeting quadricep and gluteal strength. A 30-second single-leg stand beside a wall or sturdy surface, targeting balance and proprioception. Or a 30-second standing hip circle, hands on hips, feet shoulder-width apart, drawing slow, deliberate circles with your pelvis, targeting hip flexibility and core stability. Rotate through all 4 across the course of each day. Step 3. Never skip a transition. Not because missing one is catastrophic, it is not, but because the power of this technique lives entirely in its consistency. 10 transitions per day. 10 mobility minutes. 60 seconds each. That is less than 10 minutes of daily targeted movement distributed across your existing routine in a way that requires no motivation, no scheduling, and no special conditions to execute. Constance averages 11 transition movements per day. She began in the first week after her third session. By week 6, her physical therapist documented measurable improvements in her single-leg stand duration, her chair rise speed, and her self-reported confidence on uneven surfaces. She still laughs about how simple it is. She also has not missed a Saturday garden since. 1 minute. Every transition. Everything changes. Mobility issues may sneak up quietly, but they do not have to win quietly. By understanding the 4 issues covered today, recognizing the early signals your body has already been sending, and committing to even one deliberate prevention practice starting this week, you can protect the independence, confidence, and physical freedom that define the life you have built and fully deserve to keep living. You now have what Constance wished someone had handed her 3 years earlier. You have all 4 mobility issues named clearly and specifically. You have a targeted, actionable fix for every single one. You have the Mobility Minute, 60 seconds at every daily transition, for rotating movements, no equipment required, no scheduling necessary. A practice simple enough to begin before this video ends and consistent enough to produce measurable results within 6 weeks. And you have something perhaps more valuable than any exercise or technique, the understanding that what has been quietly changing in your body was never something to be embarrassed about, accommodated in silence, or accepted as inevitable. It was always something to address. You are addressing it now. So here is exactly what we want you to do before you click away from this video, before the momentum of this moment fades, and the old habit of filing things away for later quietly reasserts itself. First, if this video gave you even one signal you did not know how to read before you pressed play, hit that like button right now. 1 second of your time sends this prevention information to another senior who is somewhere today making small, invisible accommodations to a mobility change they have not yet examined. Your like reaches them before their fall does. That is not a small thing. That is everything. Second, subscribe to this channel and ring the notification bell if you have not already done so. Every week, this channel delivers honest, specific, senior-focused wellness content built around one unwavering commitment, giving you the information you need to stay independent, capable, and fully alive in every dimension of this season of life. What is coming next week is something you will not want to miss. Third, leave a comment below right now. Tell us, which of these 4 mobility issues felt most familiar to you? The balance shifts? The morning stiffness? The quiet fear of falling? 1 sentence is enough. Because when you comment, something important happens. You discover that the person reading your words in this community has been navigating something remarkably similar. That discovery transforms a private struggle into a shared one. And shared struggles, as every senior who has ever found their people will tell you, are infinitely more manageable than private ones. Constance left a comment on a video like this one the week after her daughter's Thanksgiving visit. She wrote, "I did not realize how much I had stopped doing until someone pointed out what I was avoiding." That comment has since been replied to by hundreds of seniors who recognize themselves in every word. And fourth, share this video with one older adult in your life whose daily movements you have quietly noticed changing. You may not know how to start that conversation. This video starts it for you. Constance is back in her garden every Saturday. She climbed her staircase this morning without touching the rail. That is what early action produces. We will see you in the next video.